Codifying's latest research report examines the subjects of client experience across the piece, including topics like segmentation, value-add services, right the way through to how firms are using client feedback metrics to inform their strategic decisions. In essence, the report aims to gauge what wealth managers are currently doing to enhance the client experience and to offer best practice insights for future development. The report was produced in association with Barclays Wealth and Investment Management, but it's the product of deep collaboration with experts right across the industry, alongside a wide-ranging survey of our reader base. We interviewed 30 senior executives at leading wealth managers, consultancies and other pertinent organisations to put our findings into context. Along with case studies and focus pieces, you'll also find a very frank interview with an ultra-high net worth client, which is essential reading for any wealth management professional. Client experience is one of the hottest topics in wealth management today, as firms move to differentiate themselves, but also to improve client satisfaction levels. There are also myriad disruptive influences at play which have really brought client experience to the fore recently, and so we're delighted to have been able to produce such a timely report. We're really excited about the report and hopefully it will spark some interesting debate. And as ever, we at Wealth Briefing would be delighted to hear your views.
The challenges in the financial services industry today have created a unique demand for improving and enhancing our understanding of clients' needs and the experience that they've come to expect, but actually, more importantly, the experience that they desire from a wealth manager today.
I think that this is a great time for this report to be published for a few reasons. I think that, first off, the client experience and the increasing expectations of the client in this space are an industry issue. It's not particular to any one business. I think that we are experiencing a lot of common issues and need to be much more sensitive to listening to the client.
So Wendy, what prompted this research on client experience?
One of the primary reasons we started looking at this topic was that we noticed a marked proliferation in appointments on the client experience side. So senior people, sometimes very senior people, were given sole responsibility for client experience oversight, or in other cases people were given this as part of their existing remit. We took this as a sign of just how seriously firms are taking this nowadays. Also, there are lots of other disruptive influences, such as the growing importance of social media, online forums, all of this kind of comparison culture that's going on today.
Clients are recognizing, because they are multi-bank, that they do have options, and they are comparing the different banks to each other. So those that are really meeting their expectations, exceeding them wherever possible, and really bringing the experience to a new level are going to be the long-term winners. So there's a client element. I think there's also a competitive element here in that with the continual improvements that are going on in the industry, increasingly people are focused on the client experience. They're recognizing that it's not just the relationship between the banker and the client at play. It's really every interaction, every touch point across their organization that needs to be harmonized so it feels like a seamless experience. And it all begins really with the team, with the employees' engagement. They need to be an advocate for the company, an advocate for the client. And to do that, they need to have a strong sense of pride in their own organization, a sense of the values, and the commitment that we are making in our promises to the client. So I think it all begins with the employees. I think that's universal, and it really doesn't vary by market or by geography.
We're at the beginning of the curve of quite an opaque traditional industry starting to open up to more of a comparison type feel, accessible via the internet in our case. I think it's a one-way street. I think it's only going to get that way. I think the old days of very little information about the wealth management institutions available to clients is going to change.
I think this will be fantastic for clients in that all of the improvements really do, they not only improve the levels of service that they're receiving, they improve their choices. So with thinking about, delivering brilliant basics, ensuring that every interaction that they have is consistently good. That meets their base expectations, but I think bringing it to the next level of a much more trusted relationship where they are treated as an individual, they're known as an individual, and their unique needs are being met, is building a new confidence for clients, which I think is great. And then finally, in the confidence building piece, I think that clients will become more confident in their own abilities if they're well educated by their wealth manager, and that comes through some of the thought leadership that the wealth managers are bringing to the table. So overall, I think it's a great thing for clients, and it does raise the bar and make wealth management more exciting as well. I think that wealth management should look to other industries for examples of excellence, and we should look to industries that our clients are also experiencing. So some that are natural fits may be high-end travel experiences. They may be extraordinary hotels or restaurants. But there are also simpler examples that may be more in the mainstream. Things, companies like in Amazon, for example, that may use information really well and personalize the offerings back to the client are examples of the kinds of things we need to look for. So it's not any one industry that we need to emulate. It's looking across at the best practices across multiple industries.
I know of one firm which took the Ritz-Carlton training program, which emphasises really knowing your client, and that's knowing sort of very specialised preferences of each client. In the hotel industry, that might be knowing what drinks they like, what kind of bedding they like. In the wealth management industry, it's going to be knowing sort of personal details about, when their birthday is, what their family members' names are. And it's also then taking that information and using the right technology to make sure that not just their main wealth manager knows it, but that everyone who they come into contact with in the office of their wealth management firm knows that information. And it may be that that's just because they have that information on a system, but the impression is that the client is very well understood and known when they go into the wealth management office.
We definitely have enough people out there, but they're not from the wealth management industry. And all too often, I think, in industries such as wealth management, you look at the front end. So when it comes to recruitment and hiring, you're looking at the revenue generators. You're also looking at the support teams like the legal and compliance world, which is hugely growing at the moment. The marketing side, the softer skills side about understanding client experience is left behind. So you can just imagine in the boardroom, conversations on we need new headcount to hire those sorts of staff will probably get frowned upon because the revenue they would rather spend on the front end where they can actually see a payback rather than more on the soft side, which actually, ironically, longer term is probably the biggest payback of all.
Managing money is a critical part of any high net worth individual's lifestyle, but only in the context that it helps them to achieve their aims and goals. What's really important from a wealth management perspective is not to help them manage money for money's sake, but actually to truly understand their aims and ambitions and the part that managing their money has to play in helping to achieve them. That makes a wealth manager a facilitator for ambition as opposed to just a manager of money or risk. If we combine a deep understanding of a client's goals with a unique understanding of their financial personality, i.e. what affects their decision making, we can ensure that a client can achieve their goals in the long term and make the right decisions in the short term to enable them to get there more successfully.
I think the industry has moved away from managing money for money's sake. I think this is more about aligning your organisation to the life goals and needs of your client base. I think we've definitely seen that shift over the last few years. This is not just about managing someone's wealth, it's about helping them manage their lifestyle and the lifestyle of their children and their children's children. This is about an intergenerational shift in the way that client relationships are managed.
In any industry, over-promising and under-delivering is one of the cardinal sins because you will get found out either in the short, medium or long term and it will be ugly when it finishes. So I think the whole ethos and training of wealth managers now, which is getting better and better, is really capturing that. Be absolutely clear on day one. There's much better recording systems now internally on what was said to clients, what you should say to clients in terms of promising and expectations. So I think the wealth management industry has come a long way already in the last 5 to 10 years on improving that.
Insight into clients' interests and lifestyles have always been critically important to a wealth manager. Traditionally, that insight's been collected organically through the relationship manager. However, it's absolutely critical to collect that information on a more systematic basis and use that to inform your business, marketing and servicing strategy moving forward. The Little Book of Wonders is a truly unique engagement platform that Barclays have created to gain that deeper and richer insight into what interests our clients. It's a platform that enables them to self-select features and events that are of interest to them, designed around 12 lifestyle categories. It's truly unique in that the client self-selects what they're interested in, and it's uniquely valuable to Barclays because it tells us where their interests lie.
One of the most surprising findings from the report was that the industry seems to be a two-speed industry when it comes to client feedback initiatives. So while you have a significant proportion of around 40% regularly collating both quant and qual feedback from clients, 36% appear to be not doing anything in the way of client feedback at all. If we consider that no market is the same and that there's not really a unifying profile of a high net worth individual, bar the fact that they have more money than the average person, I find it quite hard to believe that firms can make strategic decisions with confidence unless they have a really good understanding of their client base and their needs and wants.
Trying to measure client satisfaction is actually incredibly difficult, and let's face it, the wealth management industry hasn't always been cutting edge when it comes to things like technology or really understanding more of the social aspects of their client group. So I think the industry is moving better, and I'm sure your statistics probably show that percentage of wealth managers starting to take this really seriously, I would estimate, is going up year by year. But it doesn't surprise me that some are getting it right and some maybe aren't even going into it because it's such a minefield.
I think it's incredible in this day and age that wealth managers aren't systematically researching their customers. I think one of the challenges around doing that is the belief that high net worth individuals don't have the time or the inclination to be researched. However, it's absolutely true that high net worth individuals want their views to be heard and want wealth managers to respond to their needs in a better way. I think one of the challenges that wealth managers have is conducting a client satisfaction survey, dipping in once or twice a year to client sentiment and relying on that sentiment or that one-off piece of research to determine their business priorities isn't good enough anymore. It's about continually touching your clients and understanding on an ongoing basis what's important to them, recognising that their needs change along the customer journey and throughout the duration of their relationship with you as a wealth manager. So it's not just about collating satisfaction surveys, it's about having immediate client feedback opportunities, and it's about having an ongoing dialogue with them.
You know, there's a comment in the industry that feedback is a gift. So soliciting client feedback and then using it so that we can improve the relationship on an ongoing basis is the premise behind why we're doing it, and also feeding back to the client what we heard and what we're doing about that. So this is really an opportunity for us to take that feedback and continually improve our offerings and our interactions with that client. So employees really need to understand that it isn't a stick, it really is something that is used as a way to continually improve and therefore make for a more satisfying experience for both them and for the client that they're serving.
Technology is something that also came up as a real area for improvement. So that might be broader digital communication suites, enhanced reporting so that clients can see in real time where things stand. But also, I think it's really important to note that if you make improvements on the technology side, this will make a real difference to all the clients that you have among your client base. Whereas if you introduce something that's more ultra high net worth flavoured, like a philanthropy offering, that will only really impact on the top tier.
I think it's important to keep the balance between the basics that may be automated or delivered, consistently well through technology, and then the relationship management, because the understanding of the client and really getting to understand what their ambitions are, what their needs are, and personalizing that interaction and how we bring technology to them is really where the magic will be.
As the industry gets a little bit more high tech and a little bit more into marketing, digital marketing, I think there are some big opportunities. Technology is one opportunity. Now, that's relatively old hat, actually, because technology has been banded around for a long time. But as clients start to get younger, and they are, and as technology in every other industry is growing, the wealth management industry still is a lame duck left behind. And what I mean by that in terms of technology is simply down to the user interface when you have an account tends to be very old-fashioned. How wealth managers report to their clients, how they capture clients. There's very little reliance on technology, and yet technology is penetrating our lives left, right and centre, especially the lives of the wealthy. It's something that wealth managers can really pick up on.
I think technology capabilities such as online capabilities, advanced reporting capabilities are clearly important to clients. Technology can make a difference to the client experience in many ways, and primarily using it to make life easier for the clients. So, one example that comes to mind is around the ID&V process. When a client calls in, whether they're calling into their relationship manager, their banker, or into a service center, typically they have to go through a series of questions to verify who that individual is. That can be a real pain point, and from a colleague perspective, it kind of breaks the rhythm of having a good rapport and a good conversation with the client, because you're in dialogue and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now let me verify who you are, and then we'll go on and have a normal conversation again. So we have implemented something called voice biometrics, which captures a voice print of the client, and they knowingly enroll in that, and then in each subsequent conversation we can automatically authenticate that individual. The voice print is as unique as a fingerprint, so we can have a high degree of comfort that we are actually speaking with that client. But it also makes the experience so much easier for the client. So we've been getting rave reviews from them on that.
So many wealth managers say that they cater towards entrepreneurs, and yet when you lift the bonnet, there is so little that they can do for entrepreneurs. If you help that sort of profile client at the very beginning, the chances are that they will stay with you for a very long time. And in an industry today that is quite client transient, and we certainly see that on our site because we get a lot of transient clients coming through, there needs to be some key differentiators. Technology is one, catering to entrepreneurs is another, to really attract those clients in the first place.
When thinking about the balance between wooing new customers and really ensuring that you have very deeply satisfied existing customers, I think you really need to start with your existing customers. Those customers are the sources of a lot of referrals. Once we have brought them into the organization, we've developed a trusting relationship. Continually refining that, evolving it, developing it, I think is actually one of the best ways to attract new clients, because most of our clients in this industry do end up coming in through referral mechanisms. So the best marketing technique in that way is word of mouth.
I think hiring people from outside of the industry, going a little bit outside the comfort zone, quality marketing people is a really good investment for wealth managers to establish what sort of brands you want to co-brand with, what sort of luxury brands, identifying first of all what sort of clients you want, but then really going out into the industry outside of wealth management and trying to get into bed with partners in that kind of luxury space, which really lifts your brand.
I think referrals are really the lifeblood of the industry, and often they refer to that with good reason. However, very few wealth managers actually ask their clients actively for referrals. So in our experience, many organisations are now setting up processes and approaches to first of all capture those referrals, and secondly to leverage them. And it's not just about a testimonial or a key quote, it's often about different types of referrals, attendance at an event, a client reference call. So organisations are being more structured in the way they approach this and making sure they make the most of those clients that are really happy to refer them to someone else.
Turning a satisfied client into an advocate of your organisation is a goal most wealth managers aspire to, for obvious reasons. But how do we do that? First and foremost, it's about demonstrating to a client that we've helped them achieve a goal that they can be proud of and that they can talk about amongst their peers. The second part of that opportunity is to create that connection, to put your advocates in front of your prospects and your other clients, not just to demonstrate that they are satisfied with you and to advocate for your brand, but also to surface some of those other ways that we can help serve them better in the future.